And on tonight's roundtable, Mamaroneck Mayor Tom Murphy is here to talk with Michael Witch about the Friendly Village.
Hello, I'm Mike Witch, and welcome to the Roundtable. Tonight's guest needs no introduction. However, I'll attempt one. Tom Murphy is now the mayor of the village of Mamaroneck. Before that, he was a council person in the town of Mamaroneck, and before that, he was a trustee in the village of Mamaroneck. So this is time for my questions and yours. Don't forget, you can call us, you can email with your questions, and we've got about 20 minutes or so for a conversation. Tom, welcome back.
Mike, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Full disclosure, I'd like to say that I do contribute to your re-election campaign, and I work with you on the Cable TV Board of Control, and I'm an official advisor to the village of Mamaroneck. And I'm also responsible for your 3 children.
Yes, you are.
Or
Mike.
so you say.
So I say.
Would you please explain that last statement?
In 1979, I went to Boston University, and in Boston University, I met a lovely young woman named Leah, who was from Mamaroneck, New York. And I asked her why she went to Boston University, and she was in a school of communications. And she said because she had a teacher at Mamaroneck High School named Mike Witch, who interested her in video and in the communication field, and that's why she went to Boston University. And we ended up getting married and having 3 beautiful children. And the marriage didn't work out, but the children endure. And she's, as you know, a very lovely woman.
I do.
And
yes.
I owe it all to you. I tell my kids all the time, if it wasn't for Mike Witch, you wouldn't be around.
Well, maybe I should get a Father's Day present too.
Yes, you should.
The mayoralty in the village is a part-time job.
Yes, it is.
But you have a full-time job too, don't you?
I do. I'm an elevator mechanic, and I have been for 33 years.
How do you juggle both jobs? I'm assuming it's the elevator mechanic, you have to be there 9 to 5 or whatever your shift is.
Yes, it's actually I get there about 6:30, and I leave around 3, which gets me back into the village before 4, usually sometimes even 3:30. So I go straight to Village Hall. I do stuff that I have to do, and then a lot of the meetings are at night.
Yes.
And I try and take care of a lot of things on the weekends. I have office hours at the village on the weekends, and we're never too far away or separated these days. With our phones and people contact you and reach out to you often. But the village is a $9,000 a year job, so unless you're retired, you have to have something to keep body and soul together. And truth be told, I've been doing this 33 years as an elevator mechanic, and I really enjoy it.
I'm going to say that job must have its ups and downs, but we don't have that sound effect at LMC, but we should.
You should, yeah. Rim shot.
We have some things. I know you want to talk about the new village manager, and there's
Yes.
a new trustee coming in, and you wanted to mention a zoning law and a Safe Streets initiative, and maybe the murals
Yes.
that are going up. But I want to give our first question to Tom from Rhinebeck, who submitted a question via nextdoor.com.
Okay.
And he's talking about the population growth in Mamaroneck. And he says, besides obvious traffic, village and Metro North parking, how will the growth affect essential services and tax revenue? He's heard, well, I'll just add this, he's heard one trustee suggest that tax revenue will not be able to keep up. And does that mean that longtime residents will pay more to ultimately support the new population?
Well, the real issue is how the population affects our schools, and especially in Rhinebeck district, but especially in the Mamaroneck district, the schools are at the saturation point. So if we have 25, 30, 50 more students, and it requires building new classrooms at Mamaroneck Avenue School, or building new classrooms at Hummocks, that affects the tax rate of all of us. And the same situation could occur in Rhinebeck. Although, truth be told, most of the building has been going on in the town of Mamaroneck side of the village of Mamaroneck. And also, there's the idea of traffic and not being able to get where you want to get to, the idea of village character. Even though you and I live in an apartment, we moved here because of a small town feel. And I mean, I grew up in the city, and I lived in the city until I was almost 30 years old before I moved up here. And I moved up here to have that small town experience, but also have a walkable community. So one of the things that we've been working on is what I call the Safe Streets Initiative. And that is to get people to drive safer, to get people to drive slower, to encourage our young people and parents of school-age children to have them walk. Because we've done a couple of surveys, both in Rhinebeck and in the Mamaroneck Avenue School. And it's kind of counterintuitive. Parents will say, I drive my child because it's not safe for them to walk. So we have more cars on the road because of the perception of it not being safe. And I understand parents' concerns. I've seen some of the driving that goes on in this community. And
Well, won't the driving increase, as Tom said, with the population growth?
but that's why we have a moratorium on development.
Okay.
And we're working, hopefully, that we pass a law that lowers the density that's allowed. And not only is it lowering the density that's allowed, but it's going to require affordable housing to be built. So if the law passes, 10% of all new dwellings will be affordable dwellings. To try and keep the people who grew up here, the people who work here, people who work at MCTV, people who work in the town of Mamaroneck and the village of Mamaroneck, to be able to live in a community where a lot of them grew up.
Because the signs I see on some of the developments are luxury.
Luxury and exorbitant.
Yeah.
1.7 million. And
Right across from the harbor.
Right. Rent some of the rentals for $4,000 or $5,000. So a working family, it can't afford to live there. We did a part of the planning process where we were doing a moratorium to buy a low-end or medium to low-end house in the village of Mamaroneck. As a family, you need to be making $200,000, and that's a lot of money. So what we're telling people is, if unless you're very affluent, both parents have to be working, and unfortunately, that's the situation, the norm now. More, I think when we were growing up, that was a lot of our moms stayed home, and we benefited from that in a lot of ways. And today it's just so difficult for young people starting out. I have a young man who I work with in the elevator business, and he was talking. He lives in the Bronx, and he was talking about moving. And he said, "What do you think of Mamaroneck?" I said, "Well, I love Mamaroneck. I'm the mayor." I said, "Is your wife going to work after you have children?" He says, "I would. I don't think so." I said, "You got to start thinking about that." I said, "You might have to move up the line more." And I hated to say it because he's a great young man, and I'd love to see him in the village of Mamaroneck, and he'd be a great addition to the village of Mamaroneck. And we were, for a long time, a large working class community, and
Yes.
we're losing that.
Well, I want to talk more about that and the new village manager and the trustee. And we've got a little commercial from LMCTV. We'll be right back after this message. Please stay tuned.
Do you need space for a meeting, conference, or presentation? LMCTV has what you need. Our 768 square foot studio space is ideal for many types of productions, readings, recitals, rehearsals, and workshops. The space has video recording capability, as well as daylight temperature lighting, green screen, and stage. 2 additional rooms at 208 and 156 square feet can be used for any of your needs. Auditions, meetings, classes, workshops, one-on-one instructions, and more. Both rooms feature video monitors with Chromecasting capability, making presentations a breeze. To reserve one or more of our spaces, contact us at reserve@lmctv.org.
For over 35 years, LMCTV has been your community connection. Community events, studio and equipment access, classes, municipal and school board meetings, sports, news, and so much more. But the world is changing, and our community is changing with it. We encourage you to take action, join us, and create the space you want and deserve. We're listening. Are you watching? This is your opportunity to get what you want. Visit lmctv.org today and fill out our online survey and help us continue to build community through media.
Hi, welcome back. I'm sitting here with the mayor of the Village of Mamaroneck, Tom Murphy. Don't forget, this is your time to all call, ask a question. And, oh, I see a question is right up on the monitor now. I can ask it. Tom, this viewer wants to know what have been the highlights of serving as village manager, village mayor, excuse me.
Village manager gets paid a lot more.
That's a full-time job, and we'll talk about him. He's new on the job.
But I would say some of the highlights, when I first got elected, there was a really bad fire, and that wasn't a highlight. It was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
And it was on Mount Pleasant Avenue, and 8 families were made homeless. And it was on December 23rd. Oh. And so, I mean, I remember standing outside the building, and our brave volunteer firemen carrying out waterlogged presents that, because they had inundated the building because the fire was so bad. And I was able to reach out that night to various people in the community and to go on Facebook and on Twitter. And we opened up the Hispanic Resource Center on Christmas Eve. And in that day, we raised $30,000. They had to stop taking clothes donations and food donations because so much came in. And when you're lucky enough to be mayor of a community that has that much caring and that much love, and that can reach out and help those who are in dire straits, you realize you're a very lucky man. So that was my highlight. There's been a lot of legislative things and good things that have happened, but that to me made me so proud to be representing this community.
Well, thank you for that question, viewer. Ask more questions in the about 15 minutes we have left. I want to ask you, you have a work session as well as a public meeting coming up this Monday, I believe.
Yes.
And as you know, Trustee Dan Natchez has a alert that he puts out to people who sign up for emails, and he lists all kinds of events. And he says the upcoming budget is going to be a topic. You want to preview anything? Any announcements on the upcoming budget?
That'll be a short topic on the work session because the budget is mostly done. We are under the tax cap. We have, it's under 2.47, I believe. We were very lucky that the staff worked very hard and they came in with a tax cap compliant budget. It does not cut any services. It allows for some growth in some areas, and I'm very proud of this budget. I think that it serves the community well. It's very hard these days to fit everything in because you get a number from Albany of 2.47, but then you look in healthcare costs and pension costs right there eat up 75%.
You're talking about the state aid.
No. What the state makes us pay toward our employees.
I see.
So the increase this year for pension and health, I think in total came to about $400,000 of the 600 and something that we were allowed to grow.
Yeah.
So so what's left is there's very little room for real expansion of programs. But we shifted some stuff around, and like I said, the employees of the community came in with a realistic budget, a budget that recognized that we have a lot of citizens who are striving to stay in this community. So I'm hoping that, and I'm pretty confident that the budget will pass Monday night, and we will be in good shape for next year.
And you have ways to communicate the budget information to the public?
It's all online.
It's all online?
It's all online.
Okay.
Yes. If you go to the village website, you can look at the budget. LMCTV televises our work sessions. We're the only community. When I came on the board, that's one of the things that I am proud of is that we started televising the work session so that people could see behind the scenes and how decisions get made. So all of those work sessions, not the budget work session, but all of our work sessions where we talk about programs and stuff like that are all watchable.
Right. And they're also archived. They're on your website?
They're on your website?
And I think your website as well.
Yeah.
And they're indexed, are they not?
When you go to the meeting, you can pick the agenda item, click on it, and just watch that if you want to. You don't want to watch the whole 5 hours of the meeting.
Go right to
I don't know why you wouldn't want to watch it. But
of course. I remember years ago that public officials and school board officials were sort of wary about appearing on camera, but now it's a matter of course.
Yeah, it's, you know what, there's such a dearth of local media. You know,
Yeah.
the Journal News doesn't cover us anymore. There's no more real local papers that cover us anymore. So that's really, you know, what we can get across on Local Live and LMC TV. That's why LMC TV is so vital.
Well, we heard Matt Sullivan talking a little bit before the commercial about a survey that LMC is putting out, and I know the villages put it out a link on their website.
Yes.
You are the current chair of the Board of Control, the Cable TV Board of Control.
Yes, sir.
And the survey ties into the Board of Control because you folks supply what's called franchise fees, and you apply them, a lot of them, to LMC operations, and that's under threat right now. So the survey is going to help see the future or determine the future for LMC, and the more people that answer that survey, the stronger our position,
Right.
because we also have to renegotiate cable franchises.
The
coming up.
cable contracts are up in a couple of years, so we have to get prepared for that. And what the Buskey report, which is a survey, will do is give us an ability to see what the community wants to do in the future.
Yes.
You know, what the needs of our residents are for this medium in the future. But what you hit on before about the franchise fees, it's just so the folks in the community know, is that the FCC, that's the Federal Communications Commission, is reviewing a rule. Right now, 5% of all franchise fees in the community go to...
The 5% of the cable, what the cable company makes from television.
Just from television.
Right.
Just from television. That's
No
the only thing we get a
internet, no
franchise fee. We
telephone.
don't get a franchise fee on television, on internet or telephone.
Right.
So 5% of that goes to the community. Like, as you said, we put most of it toward LMC TV, but FCC is considering rule changes where the in-kind contributions, like the free access channels, 75, 76, 77, or whatever it is, 33, 34, and 35,
Right.
that they want to charge us for that, so that they would take that off the franchise fee.
As well as the
head
cost of
end,
the
and
drops to the
drops
schools, the drops
and
to
all
the
of that.
firehouses.
And they get to set the price.
Yeah.
So, you know, this would be ruinous for LMC and for local access throughout the country. So what's important now is to contact our senators. Our Congress people are on board in opposing this rule change, but so far Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer have not committed to that. So if you could contact Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand's office and tell them to oppose the FCC rule change as it regards to franchise fees for cable TV, that would be very helpful.
And Representative Engel?
Representative Engel has signed on. He's our guy, and he's on board with opposing it.
Okay, good. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll finally get to introduce the new village manager and trustee. We'll be right back.
MCTV Media Center is the spot for your next party. Lights, camera, liftoff. The possibilities are endless. Space adventures, video gaming, whatever they imagine, LMC can achieve. Kids of all ages have fun making their own videos in our professional TV studio. LMC TV is the perfect spot for your creative kid to celebrate with friends and make a memory that will last forever in video. Party themes can range depending on their desire. Fun news shows, music videos, stop motion, overall silliness, our cameras can capture it all. Contact us to book a party today.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Wacha. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
We're back at the round table. Mayor Tom Murphy is my guest, and you've got about 7 minutes or so to call in with your question for the mayor. He'll answer any question that's posed, I think, I hope. Talk to me about the new village manager.
The new village manager is a gentleman named Jerry Barbario. Mr. Barbario grew up in Long Island. He has extensive government experience. He worked for the county executive in Long Island. He was a manager in New Jersey for years, and he lived in New Jersey for years. So he grew up in a community like Lynbrook, which is a lot like Mamaroneck out on Long Island.
Yes.
And he has fit right in. And I'm very happy with his appointment that the board chose him. He is a hands-on kind of gentleman. He has jumped right in. He has an ability to assess a situation and make a decision. And I think he will be a good fit for the village of Mamaroneck in the coming years. And as I said when we appointed him, I'm hoping that Jerry is there long after I'm gone.
And you have another new person coming on board, a new trustee, because Trustee
Yes,
Keith Waite.
as the program showed before, Trustee Waite is going back to England for a couple of years, and we're going to miss him. I really enjoyed working with Keith. He's a gentleman, and he always tried to think through every problem in a rational, reasonable way. But I'm happy to announce that
Kelly.
after a lot of talking to a lot of people and a lot of thought, I am going to appoint Kelly Wenstrup on Tuesday, the 23rd. And Ms. Wenstrup is an attorney. She's done a lot of litigation, both civil and criminal. She's on the zoning board of the Village of Mamaroneck. She was on the traffic board of the Village of Mamaroneck. And she's a parent in the community. And I look forward to serving with her.
Good. So she'll fill the unexpired term of Keith.
The unexpired term of Keith until December, in which time, like we were talking about before, like your dad,
Sure.
she'll have to run for the rest of his term.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay. Do you want to talk about the historic murals? Have you seen them?
I have seen them. Aren't they lovely?
I haven't seen them yet.
Well, take my word.
I've seen some reactions on nextstory.com. There was a person who said they were wonderful, but then we also saw a comment from somebody on Facebook saying he didn't like them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about art, isn't it? It's all very subjective. But I personally like them very much. I wasn't involved in the, and you wouldn't want me involved in the aesthetic choices of it.
Well, there were several people. I mean, the Historical Society was
Historical
involved.
Society, the Arts Council,
Right.
The 501c3, I forget their name, Art for Humanity.
Yes.
Well, Trustee Leon former Trustee Leon Potok was very instrumental in getting this done, and I thank him for his continued involvement in this community that I know he loves. And I think they look, they have a historical context, which you'll learn more about when we introduce them. But I think that they are really, really vibrant, and they tell a story of Mamaroneck. And I notice people there's always somebody who won't like something, but just remember that what's his name? Van Gogh never sold a painting in his life, right? and we now look at him as one of the most accomplished artists of all time.
Did they accomplish the mural that had the skinny house on it by any chance?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not
Okay.
yet, yeah.
I mention it because way back in 1986, Gloria Pritz, who was then the village historian, and I walked through the skinny house with the owner of it at that time,
Right.
Mrs. Seeley, and LMC found the videotape.
No kidding.
Yes, so the Historic Society is going to work with LMC to get it on the air again.
Wow.
So people can see it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's a beautiful house. I mean, you could reach your arms out and touch.
Literally,
yeah,
about 10
literally.
feet wide.
Yeah.
And it's got a cable that runs from one side of it over the roof down to the other side.
Securing it.
To keep it from falling over in the wind. Interesting house. Recycling. The recycling program in Mamaroneck how's that going?
The recycling program is very good. We hired an employee just to organize the recycling.
I met him. I had to throw a computer printer away.
And isn't he just
And he
an
greeted
amazing
me
young
in
man?
the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Yes. And wanted to give me a tour, and I said, another time. But he took the printer, and he had a special place for it, and it looks very organized on
It
Fayette
is very
Avenue.
organized, and he has a joie de vivre that you have to admire.
Yeah.
And he loves his job, and we're very, very happy with what's going on. And now we do food waste recycling.
Yes.
You could take your scraps down there, and we will make compost out of them. So we're trying to do. That's the situation. We're doing more with less.
Yes.
We hired him last year. That was an add-on to the budget last year. So, it is a vibrant program, and if you don't know, you go down to Fayette Avenue to drop off your recycling and your food scraps.
And it's right off Fenimore.
Right off Fenimore, right before
right
you
turn, go to the end.
Right turn, go to the end before you get to the railroad track. Not the railroad track, before you get to the I-95.
Right. Zoning law?
Well, that's what I talked about before with the moratorium,
Right.
and hopefully we have a law that's being circulated now to the land use boards, and we will have a public hearing in May.
And you're going to change the zoning to
Lower density,
Lower the density.
and require affordable housing.
I wanted to ask you how you communicate with the public. Obviously, you're on television. You have your own show, the Tom Murphy Show.
I do have my own show.
And you're a guest here.
I'm a
Not
guest here.
infrequently. You come on fairly often.
Well, whenever you'll have me.
Yeah. And you're on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. I do Twitter. I'm on the Avenue all the time. I send emails. I have an email list. If you want to get on my email list, email me at tmurphy@vomny.org.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get that on the screen. tmurphy@vomny.org.
Okay.
And I will put you on the email list, or you can sign up on a website for it. And you can sign up for many village alerts and lists that we have. As I said before, it's harder and harder. In 2001, when I was first on the Board of Trustees, in the front row would be 3 reporters
Yeah.
at every board meeting.
Right.
And now,
So it's harder to communicate, and you use social media and LMC and
yeah,
email, and
yes,
you don't do a town crier approach yet, right?
not yet.
You're not on the
But-
corner, but,
if
you could.
I could. I've been on the corner a lot.
I wanted to ask you about flood control. Is that Army Corps of Engineer project? Can you update us on that?
Right now, from what the last I heard, the approval is on the desk of the Assistant Secretary of the Army. He has to do a cost-benefit analysis on it and then sign off on it. But we have elected officials who are pushing very hard for it. Our former Congresswoman, Nita Lowy, who doesn't represent us anymore, but is chair of the Ways and Means Committee, is pushing very hard for it. And we thank her for that, and we thank our present Congressman, Elliot Engel, for pushing the same, together in tandem.
Right.
And we're hopeful, but, federal government being what it is these days, I'll see it when I see it, you know what I mean?
Is that key to the development of the industrial zone?
It's definitely, I think you could develop the industrial zone without it, but it's definitely easier with it.
Yeah.
The less flooding we have, the better off it is for everybody.
Well, I saw a proposal to build holding tanks underground.
Yeah, that's part of the,
That I think it was an idea that Europeans came up with a while ago, and it was maybe a good idea for us too.
well, part of what they're going to do is widen and deepen the river.
Yeah.
Which has the same effect, right?
Right.
It's
Straighten it out too.
and straighten it out, yeah.
Right. Potholes. We see them, we run over them. My teeth rattle sometimes. Does the village repair potholes?
Yes. Depending on what street, some of them are county, some of them are state. But the village, right now, we have coming up in the spring about $3 million worth of paving, which is huge. Usually, a community like Mamaroneck would do $500,000, $600,000 a year. But the past 4 or 5 years, they did none. So one of the things I wanted to do when we got in was catch up. So we're going to catch up to where we should be, and then we'll go back to the $500,000, $600,000 that you're supposed
So
to do
we
every
can
year.
expect to see trucks on the
You're
road
going to see a lot of paving,
soon. Okay.
starting probably in the summer.
Do you want people to report
Yes, we definitely.
teeth rattlers to you guys?
Yes, yeah. We want people to report teeth rattlers. We want people to report if there's definitely a dangerous situation. If it's an area that's walked, like a crosswalk or something like that, we want to know right away. If it's near a sewer grate, we want to know right away. That, if you see something dangerous, yes, report it right away.
And that email address, let's give it one more time. I'm not sure it's up on the screen, but
Well, yeah, T Murphy, TMURPHY @VOMNY.org.
okay.
Okay.
Did we leave anything out?
I think we
I could
got
sit here
around
with
it.
you for another hour and talk, and I hope you'll come back and
I'd
allow me to
I'd
do
be
that.
delighted.
Okay. Tom Murphy, Village Manager, thank you for coming.
Village Mayor.
I said manager
You
again?
said manager again, yeah.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry. Sorry, viewers. Well, thanks for watching, and don't go away because LMC TV has more of the local live right now.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure, pal.